How can you be sure that your neurons are firing in such a way to help you arrive at truth? I want to go to one final point. This is where I want to go. If you simply evolved and the only things that exist are physical things, then your brain is also a physical thing. Your thoughts are just physical. And we can demonstrate these in a laboratory. All your brains and thoughts are neurons firing in your brain. You've got electrons and neutrons and protons and whatever flying around in your brain, and neurons are firing, telling you to think certain ways and to think certain thoughts. That's all that's going on up here, right? If we're purely materialistic, if we're purely a material being and all that exists is the physical realm, there is no spiritual realm, then all that's going in your mind are neurons firing. That's all that's happening, okay? If that's all that's happening, just neurons firing, here's my last question. How can you be sure that your neurons are firing in such a way to help you arrive at truth? To help you arrive at truth. You say that makes sense to me, but that's begging the question again. If something makes sense to you, it's only your neurons firing. And why did your brain evolve in the way that it did after all? Survival of the fittest. Your brain evolved not to tell you the truth, but to help you survive. Those are completely different things. All you can be sure about, if Darwinian evolution is true, is that your brain evolved in such a way so that not you can believe the things your brain thinks about, or you can believe the conclusions your brain comes to, but instead your brain evolved in such a way so that you can survive. That's it. All that you can trust about the way your mind works, the way your brain thinks, is not that it helps you arrive at truth, but simply that it helps you survive. That is it. That's completely it. So how can you even trust your own thoughts? How can you even trust your own brain? How can you even trust the signals that it receives from the world around you? You can't. It is only evolved to help you survive, not evolved to help you arrive at truth. And so the way we think about the world begins to crumble. Doesn't finding the truth about the world help us in our survival? Only if you assume that it will at the outset. Let me give an example. Let me give an example, Republic of Tryhards. I think this will help. Okay. Let's say an ancient civilization had this belief about the world. They lived on the coast. Okay. They lived in the lowlands on the coast. And they had this belief about the world. When the wind blows from the west, the ancient spirits are telling us to travel to the west. Okay. Now, we would all say that's false. That's not true. Okay. Let's say this civilization had a belief that when the wind blows from the west, the spirits are telling you to move from the west. Okay. You're supposed to move to the east. And so one day the wind blows from the west and they're saying, oh, it's the spirits. The spirits are telling us to move to the east. And so they all get together. They all get their encampment together and they move to the east. Guess what? Everyone who didn't believe, and everyone who said, phooey, no, it's not the spirits telling us to move to the east. That's not true at all. We're staying put. And then a tsunami comes in and wipes out everybody who stayed behind. Wipes out the entire civilization, everyone who stayed behind. Who's left? Only people who believed that the wind blowing from the west meant that we need to move to the east. The spirits are telling us that. Those are the only people who survived. Their belief, their false mythology and belief led them to take an action that helped them to survive. The truth of the matter is not that when the wind blows from the west, the spirits are telling you to move to the east. The truth of the matter is that when the wind blows from the west, a hurricane is kicking up off coast and it's going to flood your city. It's going to flood your village and everyone will die. Do you see how their false belief about the world helped them to survive even though it's not true? Do you see how that works, tryhards? And now everybody who believed the falsehood got wiped out and died, or everyone who believed the falsehood lived, and everyone who believed the truth that it's it's this ancient civilization, that it's this these spirits, they're all the ones who survived, but they survived through falsehood. I can see that, but isn't it also possible in an opposite scenario? Yes, precisely. But here's my point. I don't have the opposite problem because I'm not espousing that we evolved with certain ideas or thoughts. This is what I'm saying. This is a critique I'm leveling against an atheistic worldview. A theistic worldview doesn't have the same problem. The illustration that I'm trying to get you to see is that a belief that is developed based upon survival is not necessarily true. You see what I mean? The way your brain or your thoughts work based upon survival doesn't make it true. You said that doesn't finding truth about the world help us in our survival? My point is not necessarily. They believed a falsehood that helped them to survive. Vector says, so their brains wanted to survive, didn't care what was true. Precisely. If Darwinian evolution cuts in the way that it does so indiscriminately. It does so indiscriminately. So that belief system sticks around in the world. Their brains helped them survive even though they believed a falsehood. Okay? Now, if we take Darwinian evolution and it's survival of the fittest, then the way your brain works evolved for survival, not for truth. Exactly right, Vector. His point is if it's just neurons firing, it isn't concerned with truth. So I'm going to go back to my previous example, tryhards. If that is how your brain developed, if that is how we got here, if that is how we evolved, then there's no confidence that our brains help us to arrive at true conclusions. The only confidence you can have is that our brains help us arrive at survival conclusions. You see what I mean? You live your life as though your brain helps you to arrive at true conclusions. But if Darwinian evolution is true, the best you can do is our brains help us to arrive at survival conclusions. And you have no clue whether or not they're true. They may be true. They may not be true. You don't know because your brain just fires in that way. You see what I'm driving at, tryhards? Again, I want you to know, tryhards, this is next level stuff. All four of the arguments I've brought up is next level stuff, and you are crushing it. Republic of Tryhard says, yeah. Okay. Perfect. So you use your brain every day as though it helps you arrive at true conclusions, not survival conclusions. You believe in your heart of hearts that morality is objectively true, always right or wrong, irrespective of the situations that we arrive in. You believe and agree with mathematics and the laws of logic, and you trust and believe in induction. And I have just proven that an atheistic worldview struggles fundamentally to account for all four of these things. So, a Christian worldview can account for all four of these things quite easily. Do you see how atheism has abundant and robust philosophical problems? I'm not saying they're insurmountable. I'm not saying they're impossible. But here's the question I would like you to go forward with and to truly think about. The world I live in, where science seems to work and induction seems to be true, where laws of logic and mathematics seem to be objective truths and realities that are beyond human conventions, where morality seems to be objectively true in all places and all times, it's an absolute that is true, and where we can trust our brains to help us arrive at truth rather than just arrive at survival. In that kind of world that you live in, what is more likely to be true? Theism or atheism? That is why I'm a Christian. Not because I went from being an atheist to believing in a sky daddy. But when I look at the world around me, tryhards, and I see induction is true and works, laws of logic and mathematics work, morality is objective, consistent, it's true in all places and all times, and that my brains help me to arrive at truth and not at survival, I say, this is God's world. He made it. Hey guys, Pastor Channer here. If you enjoyed that content, would you please consider hitting the like and subscribe button for us? It really helps us out. Also, if you want to check out the description, we've got links to our Twitch and our Discord. Take care. God bless. Bye now.